Imagine the roar of the Chase Center condensed into one electrifying pulse, and then, suddenly, everything freezes under the weight of an ominous shadow creeping through Dub Nation's veins. Welcome back to Warriors News Fan Report, where raw truths collide with splash-era passion. Smash that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so your heart never misses a beat. Tonight, we dive deep into a gut-wrenching saga that no Golden State faithful wanted to witness. The brutal Game 2 loss to the Houston Rockets. A staggering 109-94. Blowout that did more than just shake the scoreboard, it rattled the very bones of the Warriors' playoff hopes. What began as a gritty battle tipped into a nightmare late in the first quarter, when Jimmy Butler, the former Miami Heat powerhouse who burst onto the Warriors scene in February, collided violently with Amen Thompson. The impact wasn't just a mere stumble. It was a sickening fall, landing hard on his tailbone, forcing Butler to clutch at his lower back as he gingerly limped towards the locker room, clutching that vulnerable pelvis region. Despite sinking one of two free throws immediately after the foul, a testament to his steely will, Butler was ruled out for the rest of the night with a diagnosed pelvis contusion, leaving Warriors fans holding their breath as the team prepares for an MRI this Thursday. The stakes? Colossal. Losing playoff Jimmy, Butler threatens to upend the very balance that's kept Golden State's late-season momentum alive. A run where they surged 23-8 after his arrival, turning the Warriors from regular season underachievers into one of the league's hottest teams just in time for the playoffs. The memory of his Game 1 heroics still burned bright: 25 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, and 5 steals. The kind of stat line that screams vintage Jimmy, the kind that sparks belief. Yet here we stand, wrestling with the chilling prospect of stepping into Game 3 on Saturday without his dynamic presence. Head coach Steve Kerr, ever the steady hand, laid bare the grim uncertainty. Hopefully Jimmy will be able to play. But if not, we have to go through our options and put together a plan. What are those options? How does the playbook change without the heartbeat of their late-season revival? Meanwhile, amid this unfolding drama, Golden State also battled the absence of Brandon Podziemski, who was sidelined by a stomach illness for much of the game, magnifying the cracks in the Warriors' lineup against an unrelenting Rockets squad. The Rockets, hungry and desperate to make noise, seized the moment, with young phenom Jalen Green shaking off the jitters that plagued his lukewarm Game 1 debut posturing under playoff lights that had once made his legs tremble and confidence waver. Green exploded for a monumental 38 points, throwing down 8 lethal three-pointers, more than twice the combined Rockets' tries in the opener, and stacking 4 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 steals with the kind of ferocity that sends chills down any opponent's spine. "I feel like I did a good job of answering back," Green said, voice dripping confidence. "From the beginning, my whole mindset was to be aggressive and get back to being myself." And alongside Green, Alperen Sengun cemented a commanding double-double with 17 points, 16 rebounds, 7 assists, and 2 steals, reinforcing the Rockets' bench depth and vision that could very well upset the Warriors' rhythm moving forward. Amid the chaos, Steph Curry quietly added 20 points, a significant milestone vaulting him past 4,000 career playoff points, a feat that places him among the elite, just the 11th player in NBA history to reach such heights. Yet even that personal triumph couldn't lift the Warriors when faced with mounting adversities. The historical echoes are deafening. Remember the seismic energy of the We Believe Warriors, those scrappy underdogs who ignited a city's pride with heart and hustle? Or the dominant dynasty era where title rings adorned the fingers of Curry, Thompson, and Green? Now, facing this unforeseen injury, the Butler, a man who, though new to the Bay Area, has become a catalyst for their hopeful resurgence. Could this pelvic contusion become the silent pivot point that eclipses the seismic impact of Durant's departures or Draymond's defensive mastery? Is this injury a harbinger of a fractured campaign, or the crucible from which a deeper resolve is forged? Front office whispers swirl amidst the tension. Could this setback open urgent calls for shakeups, maybe even trade rumors targeting mid-season, strengthening, or shifts in offensive schemes that place more pressure on Kuminga's explosive potential and Moody's defensive hustle. The financial investment in Butler, a star signed to electrify the franchise and fan base, suddenly feels more precarious than ever. How will this affect not only the championship chase, but the team's long-term blueprint? The NBA playoffs are a ruthless battlefield where every minute counts, and the Warriors' window for glory hinges on health and harmony. The question cutting through the noise is sharp and relentless. Can the Warriors recalibrate swiftly and rise without their latest star? Or will the adversity expose fissures too deep to mend quickly? Will Curry's legendary resolve, paired with Klay Thompson's sharp shooting and Draymond's ironclad defense, be enough to carry Golden State through this earthquake? As Dub Nation collectively holds its breath, the haunting uncertainty lingers. How will Game 3 unfold under the shadow of Butler's injury? The battle for the Bay is far from over, but tonight's defeat and injury feel like a prologue to an epic struggle that will test every ounce of faith and fury in Golden State's warrior spirit. As a lifelong Dub Nation believer, my pulse is racing just writing this, caught between hope and fear. But is this the spark that reignites our dynasty, or the crack that fractures our legacy? Drop your unfiltered takes in the comments. I'll be right there, heart in hand. If your heart just dropped imagining a night where Klay catches fire alone, and Draymond drags the defense with that barking intensity that makes entire offenses crumble, slam me a comment right now, because we're diving headfirst into the eye of this storm, and Dub Nation needs to run hot or get left in the cold. Look, here's the truth. We could be staring down the darkest twist in this roller coaster season. Jimmy Butler's injury? It's not just a medical report on a screen. It's a seismic tremor shaking the entire Warriors ecosystem. When your new secret weapon, the very man who turned your ship around with surgical precision, dropping bucket after bucket, locking down on defense, rallying the younger guys, suddenly hits the sidelines, you don't just lose a scorer. You lose a heartbeat. You lose a mindset. Game 2 was brutal, sure. The Rockets came in like a wildfire, Yao and Green somehow flicking the switch from rookie jitters to NBA assassin mode, raining threes with the reckless confidence of a kid with a chip on his shoulder who's done being doubted. But what stings the most is how the Warriors looked so eerily heavy without Jimmy on the floor, like a championship car suddenly missing a vital piece of its engine. Steph with 20 points, broken by a watchful defense, still shifting past all time. Legends with that 4,000 playoff points milestone felt partly shackled. Klay? He was ghosted less by injury and more by doubt those moments where his usual silky jumper and quicksilver cut seemed weighed down by the expectations swelling like a tidal wave on his shoulders. Draymond, even with his true warrior grit, hustling like every possession was an empire on the line, could only do so much without that complimentary blitz from Butler off the dribble. And that brings us to our kitchen sink chaos. What now? How does Steve Kerr reconstruct this beast mid-playoffs? On the fly, when trades are frozen, suspensions couldn't be expected, and the health of his marquee signing hangs in the balance. There's rumors swirling like wildfire whispers from inside the front office, chain-smoking late into twilight, debating the uneasy possibility that this chapter demands reconfiguration, maybe even a wild trade to inject fresh blood or experience into a roster suddenly stretched thin. Kuminga's electric flashes might light the way, but can the young gun morph into a consistent weapon while everyone else misses their beat? Moody's defensive hustle is undeniable, but can raw energy translate to playoff poise under the shot? Clock's merciless countdown? And Podziemski's stomach illness only adds grease to the injury fires. Do the Warriors risk gassing their rotation core to mask the missing pieces? Meanwhile, the Western Conference itself is a pressure cooker, Suns battling Nuggets for the top spot. The Lakers clawing their way back after a messy rebuild. OKC's young stars dreaming big, and the Mavericks sneaking past bodies that falter. Every game now isn't just a test, it's a potential fracture point or a spark for legend. Golden State's pedigree in moments like these is textbook. Remember the "We Believe" squad dragging the city into uncharted magical depths with nothing but heart and hustle? Or the dynasty days when Steph, Clay, and Draymond seemed invincible, dropping finals after finals like clockwork, putting every doubter to shame? But now the cliffhanger is personal and acute. This isn't just a test of legacy, it's a test of identity. Can the Warriors digest the loss of Jimmy's influence, his clutch shot making, his defensive tenacity, and that steely playoff ferocity, and still carve a path that leads beyond the punishing dusk of Game 2? Because losing him is not just a lineup change, it cracks the dynamics of the locker room too. We talk so much about leadership, but what about the unspoken chemistry, the late-night huddles, the subtle encouragement, the weight sharing that builds champions? Is Kerr prepared to pivot not just the strategy but the spirit? Will the team rally as a near-fresh squad or begin to splinter under the relentless playoff pressure? Front office insiders are reportedly milling over the pay structure and cap space, eyeing possible short-term moves to plug immediate gaps. The question is, who's the guy that fits the culture, the pace, the urgency? Could a mid-season genesis spark a move that echoes back to the days when the Warriors snagged an under-the-radar great like Andre Iguodala or grabbed a veteran piece that suddenly fit like a glove? Or is this the moment where everything Kerr crafted since those finals runs risks dissolving like an old warhorse suddenly losing its pace? Steph's iron will can still shape games and moments. He's proven time and again that his next-level leadership and bucket-making shocks the entire league, even in the moments most brutal. But what about Clay, just returning from his own grueling saga of injury rehab and emotional fights with the game? Is he ready to be the volume scorer, the splash king again? And Draymond, the emotional barometer of the group, is he galvanized for another tour of duty or burdened by too many wounds? This season's grinding intensity is unlike any before. Dub Nation's emotional reserves are tested, fingers crossed and eyes closed, hoping the spirit that once won 5 finals in 6 years still smolders deep in these bones. Some say this might be the crossroads, the moment that forges a new golden chapter post-Durant era and New Age Warriors basketball, with fresh heroes like Kuminga stepping boldly into the spotlight. Others fear this could be the fissure that spells the end of a dynasty that once seemed immortal. But understand this team doesn't fold quietly. They survived injuries, trades, expectations, and betrayals, and every time sarcasm. And sports pundits circled the carcass of the Warriors. They rose like phantoms of Oakland, with fire in their eyes and purpose in their hearts. As someone who screamed till my voice broke during Barron's late-night breakout in '07, wept with Clay's triumphant tears during his emotional 2022 comeback game, and still believes Steph has yet another miracle or two locked in those preternatural handles and split-second decisions, this could absolutely be the start of something seismic, not just a stumble or collapse. This could be the struggle that binds a torn team tighter than ever. The next saga in the never-ending Warrior story, a chapter where the pain fuels passion, where legends rise from ashes and the Bay shines brightest under pressure. Now, it's your turn. Scream, cry, lose your mind, or calm your soul in the comments below. No sugarcoating, no holds barred. I'll be there, listening to every take as Dub Nation fights through the storm with fire in our veins.